there is a point of confusion where the right wing has been selling this idea that there are two different justice systems, one for Democrats and one for that they use against MAGAs and blah blah blah. The attack on maggots. And then this weird story comes up, and we'll see what he's referring to. This is the mess is talking about the Biden DOJ actually decides to go after leftists. If they committed a crime, I give a fuck. Again, this goes to the Epstein thing. If you hung out with Epstein and participated in his shit at all, fuck you. I don't care if I liked what you said before, or you said things I would like for years because you wanted the political power that came with it, or you were siding with it, or you were using that as cover. Because again, pedos tend to join organizations where the trust factor is high around children, and it's hard to go after them because they're scoutmasters or they're priests or whatever, where everyone is believes them automatically to be at a higher moral standard. So it gives them some sprinting room to get ahead of the accusations. That's how it works. So in the case that some of these fuckers palled around with Epstein and then suddenly want to break it's him, and by the way, him using them maybe as cover, that's just cop to that. Yeah, no. He was they were raising money for our thing, and I was like, wait a minute, that Jeffrey Epstein? Fuck that guy. And we stopped hanging out. Everybody around you would go, good, all right, cool, all right. And he was, throwing money at causes all over the place, like Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was put together some of the most women-forward movies out there. It's one of the reasons why he had the Oprahs of the world around him. Because they were like, oh, good, somebody's finally making movies, for women with strong female characters. Just turns out he was sexually assaulting the women that were trying to get the job in the woman-forward movie, which is fucked up. And I'm a big, just so you know, I'm a big fan of Annabella Sciorra. She's Whispers in the Dark is a great movie. She's terrific in everything. And the idea that he made her basically have PTSD around that just enrages me on a level that it's hard for me to even articulate, because I appreciate her work so much. And I was I didn't know till way later that she had to go through that shit to do the movies that I watched her make that I enjoyed. And so looking back on these movies that I enjoyed very much, and it's just heartbreaking that she probably couldn't even enjoy me walking up to her and going, I loved you in this movie, because of what she was going through at that project. That's fucked up. Right. Just, sorry. I get livid about some of that shit. Ugh. So, anyways, Annabella Sciorra, we love you. We think you're fantastic. I just want her to keep working and keep working and keep working forever and ever and ever. And I hope she never has another painful day in her life, and the rest of her days are just aging gracefully with joy. Because fuck that dude. Oh, my God. Oof. I wonder where Sciorra went to. Yeah. He basically scarred her. Ugh. And he's not even close to being the first or the last.
We think of political persecution,
By the way, why the mess? Why aren't you putting in the after the bell? I mean, if you're going to start with the whom the bell tolls,
we think of
that thing. Wah, wah, wah. I mean, use it.
Political persecution, political targeting, the suppression of rights and of free speech as
example, please. Oh, you mean people getting kicked off of private internet sites because they were saying shit that would get the site fined or shut down, or would drive away the customer base, which is a big part of it.
Something that happens to us, to conservatives.
Well, in your fucking fantasy world that you live in, because did you have any problems financing 2,000 mules, that horse shit? Mule shit?
Republicans to the right. But there's a very interesting case I want to discuss, which shows that once you begin to give regimes this kind of power,
Regimes. Ah, I see.
their violations of liberties become undiscriminating over time. In other words,
Become undiscriminate. You mean indiscriminate? There's a word for that. It's indiscriminate. All right.
they start with a set of targets, and then they decide to
Yeah, there's mission drift. I think they call it in the authoritarian circles.
persecute just about anyone. They persecute anyone that they see as a threat to themselves.
Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. They're just like, at a certain point, you just like, tired of attacking my enemy. Can I attack some of my friends for a while? That makes sense.
Even if the threat is coming kind of from their own political aisle. And
Yes, I understand. Our own political aisle, because side of the aisle, but.
And George Orwell talks about this, in which the communists begin by trying to go after people that they see as anti-communist or bourgeois. But pretty soon they're persecuting socialists and other deviant brands of communism, so that
Deviant, yes. Porno communism.
the political weapons are wielded in a kind of promiscuous way.
I see. So in going after dirty, deviant commies, they'll just fuck anybody at this point?
Now, I saw this because of a post by the Justice Department. They said that
You mean the federal government posting what they do regularly all the time? Lots of things like this, and one of these caught your eye.
U.S. citizens and Russian intelligence officers are charged with conspiring to use U.S. citizens as illegal agents of the Russian government. And I'm like, wow, this seems a kind of strange echo of Russiagate.
No, it's an ongoing fucking thing. If anything, it is a refutation of Trump's idea that, I don't know why Russia would even do shit like that. It's not a big deal.
And Russia collusion, the Russians are somehow manipulating Americans, and
they're trying. And it's working in this case, apparently.
I was expecting to read about the Proud Boys or some militia group that the Russians are supposedly trying to get into.
I see. Obviously, the mess's problem is that he somehow thinks that Russia sides with his side of the aisle, ultimately, and not that they are just fucking with everybody, and that they created fake pro-Trump maggot groups and fake BLM groups. And then they set them, they had to back the blue groups. China did this as well. Would have back the blue groups and BLM groups that they set up fake online. And then they would set a gathering, at the same time. Everybody would get a message on the same day. Hey, we're having a meeting at this corner about this particular issue, to bring people who are against each other to the same place at the same time. Not even letting them know. Like, they show up and they're counter protesters when the expectation was nobody even knew this protest was going to happen per se, just so that they could start a fight. That's been ongoing. That I think ultimately, if anything, the mess is maybe this close to realizing the Russians are not on our side. They're not on his side. They're not on anybody who lives in a democratic country's side.
Turns out, no. The people arrested are, there's a Russian guy who supposedly is...
That's weird. Russians helping Russians?
The Russian agent. And there are 4 Black American leftists, 4 socialists, who are charged with being, quote, agents of Russia. So this...
Okay. What are you saying? The Russians have stopped discriminating, and you find that discriminatory?
Piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, anytime, like, wait a minute, Black people going to jail? Fascinating. Tell me more.
I was like, what have these people actually done? Well, it turns out that they've done essentially nothing. The leader of this group is a Black guy named Omali Yeshitela. And this guy has conducted rallies denouncing the Ukraine war, denouncing U.S. involvement in Ukraine, calling for a peace treaty that would bring an end to the war.
Yeah, at very specific times. Yeah.
And this, as I listen to the guy talk, it's a little over the top. It's a little bit
A little.
incendiary, but it's essentially socialist rhetoric. And socialist
Socialist rhetoric. What is socialist about not wanting Ukraine to be able to defend itself against Russia? What is inherently socialist about, say, the Ukrainian diaspora and their entire country being wiped clean by the wrath of God?
rhetoric, let's remember, has this kind of anti-war dimension. It sees
The left does, right? The right, absolutely not. The right is always pro-war, no matter who's involved. Warness. And
war as a kind of mechanism that capitalist societies use to divert attention away from the plight of the working class. So there's,
which is the mess also believes that. He just thinks that's a good thing.
there's nothing really all that unfamiliar. And anyone who knows the rhetoric of the 60s, this is the rhetoric of the 60s all over again.
They're getting paid specifically, and they're getting material support from foreign agents that are directing what and when they're going to say. And again, you can hire true believers, but that hiring practice is still in and of itself illegal.
These same guys, these 4 black socialists, are also accused of posting memes and blogs and other political content protesting against the war in Ukraine.
Well, obviously, no, they're not protesting against the war in Ukraine. They're protesting against Ukraine's existence. Because they're not, obviously, if they're getting money from Russia or they've got a Russian agent who's working with them, they're certainly not saying bad things about, they're not trying to end the war by Russia leaving, which would be the simplest and easiest and quickest way to end the war. If Russia just got the fuck out.
War that, by the way, they see through a lens of racial injustice.
Yes, it's black Russians being attacked by the evil Slavic. Well, the word slave comes from Slav. Never mind.
Now,
2 white countries fighting each other, and the idea is that one side deserves to be able to destroy the other one because of racial injustice.
The first thing to be noted is that the United States itself does a lot of this all over the world. In other words,
does a lot of what? Oh, manipulating language, spies, and we've according to the Dinesh here, we do a lot of internalized propaganda and fuck what's up. The Jasmine Revolution, that was all us. Middle Easterners don't stand up against their government. They're basically pets. They just do whatever the mullahs tell them because they're all kind of simple. And so anytime anyone in the Middle East rises up, it's because the CIA, had a carrot and a stick.
Of the Russians are accused of somehow encouraging or supporting marginal groups on the right and or the left to push, let's end the war in Ukraine, let's oppose the Biden administration. If the Russians are doing that, the United States government does that frequently, using vehicles like the National Endowment for Democracy.
Yes, overtly supporting democracy, not covertly, and not by pretending or undermining, like sending people in who are anti-authoritarian in those particular instances to just undermine them in general. He's going to equate this with us supporting, like, our own State Department supporting, Hong Kong democratic activists.
United
openly.
States posts false information, disinformation, certainly shares information that's sympathetic to the U.S.'s own official position.
Yeah, but overtly. And what false information is he talking about?
And tries to get local groups in those countries to circulate this. So if this is a crime, we're doing it. And we're doing it on an international scale and in a
And no, encouraging groups or funding sort of like groups who are being marginalized in a country and supporting them is different than paying to play. specifically setting up the website, setting up the people, directing them, telling them what to say. As a matter of fact, the United States gets into a lot of shit because we give people a lot of leeway in how to push their agenda. And a lot of times it blows back on us because they weren't completely on board. And we were like, hey, this is your country. We just think if you'd rather have like elections, right? We think elections are good. You guys want elections. And you turned out to be an asshole. Okay, you wanted to be elected so you could stay there. Oops.
Scale, then one Russian guy, I forget his name. It's in here. Alexander. Then one Alexander Viktorovich, who is in cahoots with four black.
By the way, does this asshole knows that like Russia just grabbed a Wall Street Journal reporter and is putting him in jail for espionage just for writing about what's going on in Russia? They recognize, like, none of these people are like journalists in this regard. We'll get to the details of it. I'll look it up while he's
black radicals. So that's the first point. The U.S. government.
By the way, the idea that that Dinesh is playing the race card in this situation, I suppose, by the idea is like, well, they're black radicals, and therefore, I don't know. Isn't the left? Doesn't that mean they're finally attacking their own? Instead of just going, no, these people are full of shit. They're selling a story that they don't actually believe, or they're being financed by a foreign group and they're aware of it.
Does this all the time. And yet the articles that are talking about these arrests never mention this. They talk about something that's going on. They act as if it's extremely chilling. And they, in fact, they typically, these news articles and reports treat allegations as fact. Here is an actual exchange. Jim, this shows how active Russia is in our democracy. The reporter goes, indeed. So, and then goes on to read from the indictment. So it's as if the indictment has already been proven, case closed. This Russian guy is accused, so he must.
Hold on. Back the fuck up. 1 second. I'm trying to find this. Let's see. Trying to find this one.
Jim, this shows how active Russia is in our democracy. The reporter goes, indeed. So, and then goes on to read from the indictment. So it's as if the indictment has already been proven, case closed.
That's how reporters are fucking talking about it. Case closed, nothing. The Justice Department actually has to still go through and have a fucking trial.
This Russian guy is accused, so he must have done it. The African socialists are accused of collaborating with him, so they must have done it. Now, what does collaboration here actually mean? These guys don't work for Russia, even though the indictment seems to say that they work.
Is this, by the way, didn't we get the feeling that Dinesh is getting a little nervous from this? That there's a reason why this particular story stuck out to the mess? Where he's like, wait a minute, I'm sorry, what? If the Russians finance what you're doing and you willfully take that and other people are getting arrested for that, do you get the feeling this is a flop sweat moment for him? By the way, can I just show you, I believe he's getting this from the Justice Department in here, but this is the Justice Department's criminal division. There's tons of stuff on here, so it's interesting just in context what stood out to him and what didn't. First one up is jury convicts 4 leaders of Proud Boys for a seditious conspiracy. I wonder why he jumped right past that one. Can't imagine. Next one up, Attorney General Merrick Garland delivers a statement following the jury verdict in the Proud Boys trial. Man pleads guilty to dogfighting offenses. That did not attract the mess's attention. Podiatrist sentenced for fraudulently billing Medicare nearly $2 million under a false identity. That's all right. Good way to be on it, guys. Deputy Assistant Attorney General Lisa H. Miller delivers remarks at the American Bar Association's Institute on Healthcare Fraud. Colorado man pleads guilty to federal hate crime for church arson. That didn't stand out to you. That didn't interest you. Guy sets fire to some churches. They get a guilty plea. He's going to jail. Doesn't matter to you? All right. Okay. Kristen Clark remarks to announce agreement in civil rights and environmental justice investigation of the Alabama Department of Public Health. Multiple men indicted in Utah for firearm offenses, including allegedly attempting to smuggle 34 guns into Mexico. One would think they'd be excited about that, right? Right? No. Let's see. Can we find these folks? These guys, the United States remains committed to utilizing transnational organized crime rewards program to bring transnational cyber criminals. This is the Russians that they busted. Vessel operator, captain, and chief engineer convicted of environmental crimes. Justice Department resolved sexual harassment lawsuit against Massachusetts landlord. 45 Minneapolis gang members and associates indicted on federal charges. This seems like stuff that the right wing would be applauding in some ways. I wonder why the mess ignores all this. Cyber criminal network fueling the global stolen credit card trade is dismantled. Announced with the Secret Service, who are a branch of the Treasury. Let's see. Federal Violent Crime Strategy. Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Marshall Miller delivers remarks to the Ethics and Compliance Commission. Okay, blah, blah, blah. 3 MS-13 gang members convicted of racketeering and violent crime conspiracy. That's good. Hey, why aren't you talking about that? The mess. Network of transnational fraudsters indicted for racketeering scheme to steal millions. Young man admits transporting automatic weapons parts into Mexico. Again, the gun trade going in. Operation Spectre. This was a big deal, by the way. This story, I read all about this the other day. This Operation Spectre, a massive coordinated operation targeting darknet drug markets. They dismantled this giant Tor-driven dark web sales, like flea market for illicit drugs. Culminated recently in the seizures of over $50 million in cash and virtual currency, crypto, and 1,875 pounds of potentially lethal drugs, and 288 arrests. And they believe it's going to be a cascading thing. That one's going to lead to dozens of other arrests because people are rolling on other people. Yeah, Garland is kicking ass. American living in Mexico caught trying to export 5,680 rounds of ammunition. Again, most of the guns that show up that are being used by the cartels they come from the United States. Man sentenced for $1.1 million COVID-19 fraud scheme. And I never thought that Marjorie Taylor Greene would turn on somebody she'd slept with, but whatever. I'd probably save her jail. Former elementary school teacher sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing children. That you'd want that. Why I thought Biden was all in on that stuff. Why are they doing that? Why would they stop the people like that? I thought only Trump could stop those folks. Okay. Joint criminal opioid darknet team enforced. This is Operation Spectre. That's that same one. Chicago man indicted. Blah blah blah. I don't see the 4. This week in justice. First Step Act. Blah blah blah. National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Nope. I don't know why. I don't know why you'd be nervous about somebody getting paid by Russia to produce misinformation, Dinesh. I don't know why that is.
Russian agents, so that they were activated by the Russians. The simple truth is nothing more. The word that's used in the indictment is that this guy, Alexander Viktorovich,
hold on. I'll just look up Alexander Viktorovich. Hopefully that will help us find. Okay. Russian national who engaged in years-long foreign malign influence campaign. Okay, so that's his. Let's try the news. Justice Department unveils charges in Russian plot. There you go. This is to interfere in U.S. elections. There we go. This is. I think this is the same one. This is April 18th. Okay, well, it's close enough, I suppose. Justice Department unveils charges in Russian plot to interfere in local U.S. elections. The Justice Department on Tuesday unveiled new charges against members of small separatist political groups accused of working with agents of the Russian government to influence a local Florida election with aspirations of extending those efforts to the 2020 presidential campaign. The indictment expands when the fuck was this? That's 2023, yep. The indictment expands a criminal case involving Alexander Viktorovich Ionov, a Russian, shut the fuck up, Donnie, a Russian national accused of working with Russian Federalists, I am the Walrus, or FSB, agents to orchestrate. The defendants wanted the effort to continue into 2020, but it is not clear from court documents whether they took any real action to affect the presidential election that year. Okay, so these people were directly fucking around in the local election there. Okay. Charges on Tuesday against Russian national accused, and sending information to U.S. citizens to the Russian government. Natalia Berlinova, a 39-year-old Russian. It's funny this is in Florida. Russian citizen has been charged with acting as an agent of the Russian government. Ionov was originally charged in July with conspiring to have U.S. citizens act as illegal agents of the Russian government. The new indictment announced Tuesday includes 4 U.S. citizens and 2 Russian nationals facing charges for allegedly participating in the plot. The Russian defendants recruited, funded, and directed U.S. political groups to act as unregistered illegal agents of the Russian government and sow discord and spread pro-Russian propaganda. The indicted intelligence officers, in particular, participated in covertly funding and directing candidates for local office within the United States. Ionov said in the statement to CNN, there is no democracy in the United States anymore. It's time to take to the streets and expel the authorities from the White House. They have reached the point of complete absurdity. You're Russian national. Fuck off. According to court documents, 3 men recruited American separatist activists and political organizations to push Russian propaganda and work with local groups to run candidates in at least 2 local elections in Florida. As part of that effort, they partnered with 4 U.S. citizens and members of the African People's Socialist Party, Omali Yeshitela, Penny Joanne Hess, Jesse Neville, and Augustus C. Romaine Jr. Romaine was also a founder of Black Hammer. That's okay. All right. That makes total fucking sense. All right. So Black Hammer, I don't know if you guys know Black Hammer, but they're a group that calls themselves like radical black socialists, and they bought some land and they were going to start like a black only city. And yeah, hold on. And the guy, I want to see if that's, I don't know if there's, okay. Black Hammer arrested. The, this was, yeah. So, all right. So that guy, now let's go to this. I'm not leaving. Where are you going? Get back out of here. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. So this is the guy. All right, this is so good. This is so good. Oh, it's so good. I had no idea it was this good. It's this good. Okay, so the part of the effort that they were engaged in was hold on, let's shrink this down in here. 3 men recruited American separatist activists and political organizations to push Russian propaganda and work with local groups to run candidates in at least 2 local elections in Florida, and prosecutors allege. Now, Black Hammer was openly soliciting funds and got some overseas shit. All right, this is fun. As a part of the effort, they went after this guy, Augustus C. Romaine Jr., also known as Godzi Kozo. Now, Godzi Kozo used to make YouTube videos, and bless his heart, he's queer as a football bat, as they say. He's gay, and had, in the world of, I guess, extremist black socialist circles, has had a rough go of it in that regard, until he founded his own group, Black Hammer. And so they didn't just come after it. And by the way, the fact that Dinesh is like running interference for these folks is hilarious. And let me explain why. The people, part of the African People's Socialist Party, also known as Black Hammer. Romaine is also the founder of Black Hammer. The same people. Okay. This guy, Augustus C. Romaine Jr. This is recent because he got busted last year after they found a dead body in his house. Godzi Kozo, who dresses up like the Joker and called Anne Frank a Karen. That's right. They found a dead guy in his house and they arrested him on that. And then as they started to unpack the weird fucking goings on at that house where they were all gathering, they found a dead body. Or they found his links to this Russian money. Far left activist, that's adorable, Godzi Kozo, who's also Augustus C. Romaine Jr., rose to internet notoriety last year with a series of bizarre online pronouncements he made as the leader of a fringe communist group called the Black Hammer Organization. Kodzo's online declarations, including claiming the Holocaust victim Anne Frank was a whiny Karen, seemed designed to go viral. Yeah, he's bullshitting around, just trying to make a name for himself. But on Tuesday, Black Hammer, dubbed a cult by some former members, culminated in tragedy. That morning, an anonymous caller in a suburban Atlanta home rented by Black Hammer contacted police to report that they were being held against their will. When police searched the home, they ordered Kodzo and 9 other people outside. In the house, they found an 18-year-old man named Amante T. Ammons, dead of what police called an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Now, Kodzo, a 36-year-old whose legal name is Augustus C. Romaine, faces a bevy of criminal charges, including aggravated sodomy, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit a felony, 2 counts of false imprisonment, 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and 2 counts of criminal street gang activity, according to the press release from the Fayetteville Police Department. Further details on the charges weren't available Wednesday from the police. I'm surprised it took this long. Savvy, a former Black Hammer member. Another Kodzo associate, 21-year-old Javier Russian, was also charged with several crimes, including kidnap, assault, and false imprisonment. Ammon's death has led former members to consider the bizarre environment that Kodzo, riding a wave of internet fame and crazed ambitions of revolution, created in the group. I'm surprised it took this long. Even as Ammons lay dead inside the Black Hammer house, though, Kodzo kept his eye on the prospect of social media fame. In a Facebook video posted as Romaine and other Black Hammer waited outside the home under police guard, Kodzo seized on the idea that the police raid and that dead body would bring more online attention to himself. More media, more followers, more, advancement work, more movement, more greatness. So be it, sweetheart, said Kodzo. Black Hammer began in 2019 after he left another far-left Black activist group. So this, they effectively raped and murdered this guy. And because they held the gun to his head and blew his brains out, then they circled the wagons on this. It's hard to prove that he didn't shoot himself, but they had, So anyways, Ghazi Kozo's gross, and everybody involved in this is a bunch of fucking lunatics, and they were getting Russian money so that they could undermine fucking elections and run people in their thing. And this is who Dinesh is defending, by the way. Please let him discover who Ghazi Kodzo is by the end of this. Holy shit.
One of, quote, directed these fringe groups. Well, how did he direct them? These guys never saw themselves as agents of Russia. They
didn't have the money to do anything, and they got the money to do shit. They paid for the campaign stuff, stupid.
Took positions that they already believed.
But they got money to put those things online, to hire editors and to get campaign materials and filing. They paid for the filings and their rent with Russian money.
Maybe that the Russians were like, let's have a rally, we'll help to pay for it. And my point about all...
Yeah, that's it. Let's have a rally. That's what the Russians said. We'll have a rally. We'll help to pay for it. Let's have a rally.
This is big deal. It doesn't really matter.
Again, this is making Dinesh nervous because he got some money from Russian sources, and that's why he's worried. That's what this reeks of.
Let's say
who financed 2,000 Mules?
For example, that
who paid for Trump Card? Who paid for your anti-Obama movie? Do we have a list of donors?
The Russian organization is trying to encourage me to say certain things on this podcast. In fact, there's no such organization. I say what I actually think. But my point is...
Right, but if they were giving you money to help you expand that reach, help you pay for your editors, help you pay for the set, help you buy equipment and stuff, that's the same thing. Just because you're a true believer doesn't mean you can take that financing.
If there were, so what? I can still say whatever I want. I still have a First Amendment right that is in no way canceled out. Well, Dinesh, it's Russian propaganda. So what?
That's right. Yeah, Dinesh does not care if what he's saying is Russian propaganda. As a matter of fact, he hopes it is. As a matter of fact, Russia, if you're listening, Dinesh needs money.
It doesn't really... Oh, Dinesh, it's disinformation. So what?
Right. There you go. It's a good hard sell, Dinesh. You found yourself in a great spot. So what if what I say is Russian disinformation? So what? I want to say it. Great. Okay. Cool. Excellent. I'm glad conservatism still has some meaning.
Our rights are not canceled by the fact that they are quote directed.
They ran campaigns, dumb fuck. Read the actual articles.
Or stimulated or encouraged or cheered. I see so many times in the press, oh, Tucker Carlson's statement on Ukraine has been reproduced, has been quoted in Russian media. So what?
Well, because you look at the people who are applauding what you say, and then you look at the fact that they sent rape squads into Bucha, for example, and you correlate those things. Right? You do get that if somebody awful really likes what you're saying, it might be because you're saying really awful things. Also, just because people bitch about Tucker Carlson saying that shit has had zero impact on his ability to do it. He wasn't kicked to the curb from Fox News because he was shitting on Ukraine or applauding Russia or Hungary.
Tucker Carlson is saying what he exactly thinks. He's defending the interests of the...
How do you know? How do you know? Because there is no standard on your side. You've just said so. How do you know Tucker Carlson's really saying... First of all, we know he lied about Trump. We know, his text messages show that he thinks Trump is a monster and a piece of shit. But on air, he supports the guy. So we already know he's got an on-air and off-air duality about an issue. And he's admitted to it. As a matter of fact, they call his show entertainment to avoid what he says on the air having to be true. That's how they've gotten out of it in court cases in the past. So we already have established that Tucker Carlson is a bullshit artist. So and then we established that this motherfucker and people like him don't care. They just want to hear what they want to hear, whether it's true or not. And they don't care if the lies come from a source that is engaged in horrible, inhuman violence. They don't care. So why would Tucker ever worry that he'd be held to that standard by his audience? He isn't. And Dinesh has just said, you won't be. We don't care. If you're saying what we want to hear, we don't care if it's true or not, and we don't care where it came from. No matter who, if I find truth in what a serial killer says, then that's not reflective on my character. That's just because he happened to say stuff that's actually true, even if it's actually not.
United States as he sees them. If the Russians happen to agree with the point he makes, again, that in no way undermines its validity.
Sure it does. It absolutely does. Character to character. Of course it does. And it's not the Russians, by the way, in general. It's Solovyev and state media in Russia. We're not talking about fucking bloggers, in the underground or Russians in an interview. We're talking about state media using clips of him to sell their point of view, which is not the same thing as Russians in general thinking this. This is the Russian government messaging this specifically.
No way proves that it's untrue.
Well, first of all, you're making up whatever the it is here. So it's neither true nor not true. That's not the point. It's his opinion, and they like his opinion of this thing. If you're talking about a particular news story where there was a lie involved or whatever, then fucking cite it. But mostly what they show on the Russian media, on Solovyev's show and 60 Minutes and all those shows in Russia on Channel 1 is Tucker Carlson's opening monologue calling Ukrainians Nazis and whatever the fuck, which is not factually based, is an act of horrible hatred towards people who are currently being attacked. And of course the Russians like that because they're the ones engaged in the attack.
But I think the broader point I want to make here is that
is that black people.
The left needs to be a little bit careful in cheering the FBI, cheering the CIA, cheering these organs, these police state organs of government, these police state
They're not police states. We have police. We have law enforcement in this country, and we have intelligence gatherers. We don't have a fucking police state, Dinesh, or you would be in fucking jail right now. The goofy bullshit. This is the same Jimmy Dore shit we hear all the time. Motherfucker, if anything you were saying were true, you'd be in jail right now. And if you were saying the equivalent of this in Russia, for example, you would be. If you flip this and he was making a video that, you know, somebody's criticisms of the U.S. government or being, you know, or of the Russian government, you know, is being championed in the U.S. and so what? They'd round you the fuck up. And he knows it. That's not even a matter of opinion. That's just a genuine reality. And secondly, the idea is that he's supposed to make us worried that we're going to get, that the left can't trust the Justice Department and the FBI because of one case he pulled out of his ass, where they're going after people. He's like, they're going after socialists? You gotta be afraid. When it's these folks, they didn't go after them because they're fucking socialists. They went after them because they're rapists and murderers, you dumb shit. Good Lord. This is talk about weak sauce. God damn.
Organs of government don't care about right or left. At the end, they care about
right. They don't care about right or left. You're either breaking the law or you aren't.
Themselves. They care about their own power.
No, they don't. Or they would just never, they would have never arrested anybody on the right side for decades. They'd have just let it slide because those people would have maintained power and made sure that nobody interfered with it. We wouldn't even have fucking Miranda rights in this country if that was true. We wouldn't have like any kind of criminal justice reform at all. This is just so stupid.
The end, tyranny is an undiscriminating monster that will.
In the end, tyranny is an undiscriminate. You mean an indiscriminate monster, motherfucker? Is it that hard? Just say tyranny doesn't discriminate. Secondly, this is not tyranny, motherfucker. These people obviously violated the law. This isn't even a matter of opinion. They discovered these other crimes when they found a dead body, you dumb son of a bitch. Hal Dinesh was in jail. I know, and he's not right now. He's a felon. And he's got a chip on his shoulder about that or whatever. But he's nervous because he knows that he learned nothing from his time in jail and he's equally involved in that kind of money. And he's nervous about the fact that he's getting money from sketchy fucking sources for all of his movies and he's not checking where it's coming from. And he's afraid this is going to bite him in the ass at some point. That's what this is about. Otherwise, he wouldn't have picked this fucking story out. It wouldn't have caught his eye. You kidding me? The fuck up. Honestly, the only reason he gives a shit about this story at all is because he knows he's guilty of the same thing. That's what it is. He popped a stitch worrying about this. Son of a bitch. Okay, I'm out of time. What the fuck? We got pretty. This is, oh God. Like there's too much stuff to get through. It's just too much. And I can't even, can I just show you a couple of thumbnails and call it a night? Because that's what, I got a bunch of stuff. We have family coming and I have to clean. I don't know if you guys saw my post earlier, but I'm trying to organize the goddamn place. Never mind. Anyways, so may I introduce you to a new trend in Ben Shapiro's thumbnail game. This is, Ben Shapiro is now going after the nerdy incel outrage reflex with which is this, to some degree what Russell Brand does as well, except, Ben looking the way he looks. Look at it. And this is a video called, look at this shit. What's really going on at the border? Joe Biden is now deploying 1,500 troops to the southern border. I thought there was no emergency. Why are we sending troops? First of all, because Title 42 is ending and they're prepping for that. Because they didn't need them before that because there wasn't a crisis. There was a processing issue. Whatever. Anyways, another time. And then, of course, Aaron Mate is filling in for Jimmy Dore while he has his... he gets his new appendix put in or whatever the fuck he's doing. And this is, of course, look what Mate is doing. Target Putin. And the title, what is there one? Yeah. Zelensky tried to drone attack Putin. No, they didn't. Not at all. Because he wasn't there, and they're pretty sure he wasn't sitting on top of the dome at the Kremlin hugging the flagpole. And Zelensky was in Finland, which is not the time you would... Never mind. It's just stupid. Target Putin. Get the fuck out of here. I gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta get the fuck out of here. Love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up. Spread the show and the clips. We post them, they're little shorter versions, the chunks of each video instead of this giant 2-hour monstrosity that I put on for you. We try to divvy that up a bit. Although I do get a bit long-winded on some of these things, and some of them are almost as long as the entire show. But I'm working on that. I really, really am. Now that we've hit 50K, it's time to go. Let's do it. All right. Anyways, love you guys. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I will see you. Hold on. There is a tomorrow.